Welcome to the Explainer. We're diving straight into a really critical security alert from SolarWinds. And listen, if you're using their web help desk software, this is one of those drop everything and listen moments. We're about to show you exactly why.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the alert itself. Then we'll get into what this really means, the open door it creates for attackers, and dig into the specific flaws. We're even going to walk through how a hack could go down, step by step. After that, we'll look at some, let's call it troubling history, and finish up with the one thing you absolutely need to do right now.
And this is really the core of it. What makes this so dangerous? Well, it's the fact that an attacker doesn't need anything to get in. No username, no password, zero credentials. They can literally just waltz right through the front door because, for all intents and purposes, it's been left wide open.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, the official word. SolarWinds has pushed out some urgent security updates, and we're talking about fixes for multiple, pretty severe vulnerabilities in their web help desk software. I want to be clear, this is not your run-of-the-mill everyday update. This is a critical patch for a really serious security hole.
So, when we say an open door for hackers, what are we actually talking about? I mean, what can an attacker really do with these flaws? Well, it boils down to two incredibly dangerous capabilities.
First up, we have remote code execution, or RCE for short. And honestly, the best way to picture this is to imagine you're handing a hacker the master key to your server and giving them a seat at the keyboard. They can run whatever code they want, grab any file they feel like, and basically take total control of that machine from anywhere on the planet.
And the second one is authentication bypass. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Think of a bouncer at a club, right? Instead of having to show an ID, an attacker can just find a side door and walk right past them. Suddenly, they've got access to all the protected areas and sensitive data without ever proving they belong there.
Okay, so we know what's possible. Now let's dig a little deeper and look at the actual flaws that create these huge security gaps. In the security world, every vulnerability gets a unique name, a CVE identifier. And the ones we're about to see, well, they paint a pretty scary picture. The first thing that jumps out here is just how consistent this is. We're looking at 4 different flaws. 2 of them are those authentication bypasses we just talked about. The other 2 are a bit more technical, untrusted data deserialization. But all that really means is an attacker can trick the system into running their bad code just by sending it some cleverly disguised data. And then, just look at those scores on the right. They're all the same, and they are all critically high.
A 9.8. Let that sink in for a second. That's out of a perfect 10 on what's called the CVSS scale. That score puts it firmly in the critical category. I mean, it's about as bad as it gets. It tells us that this flaw is not only super dangerous, but also probably pretty easy for an attacker to use.
And look, this isn't just some number on a chart. The security experts over at Rapid7 took a close look at these, and they basically confirmed our worst fears. They're saying this isn't some far-fetched theoretical attack. Nope, this is a reliable and well-known way for hackers to get in and take over. And because they don't need a password, the potential damage is just huge.
So you might be wondering, how does this actually happen? How does an attacker go from 0 to full control? Well, it's not like a magic button. But researchers have already mapped out the entire playbook, and it's a step-by-step process.
The folks at Horizon3.ai actually laid out the whole thing, like a 5-step recipe for a hack. First, the attacker gets a session going. Then, they craft a nasty little component and fool the system into letting them upload a file. After that, they inject their malicious code. And the final step, they just trigger it, and boom, that's it. A straight line from the outside world right to total control of the system.
Okay, let's pull back for a second and look at the bigger picture here. Because to really get why this is so urgent, you need to know that this isn't some random, out-of-the-blue problem. No, this is part of a pattern with this software, and frankly, it's a pretty troubling one.
What you're seeing here is this constant, dangerous game of cat and mouse that's been going on. Here's how it plays out. A major flaw is discovered, SolarWinds releases a patch. Great, right? Well then, a new flaw is found that gets around that first patch. So they release another patch. And guess what? That one gets bypassed too. This isn't just bad luck. It points to a persistent weakness that attackers know about and are clearly targeting.
And here's the kicker. This isn't just theory. We're not talking about what could happen. The US government's own cybersecurity agency, CISA, has already put similar flaws in this exact same software on its known exploited list. That means they have evidence that hackers are out there, in the wild, using these kinds of attacks right now.
So, let's put it all together. We have a super severe vulnerability that doesn't require a password in a piece of software with a history of being targeted and exploited. With all that in mind, let's get to the single most important thing you need to take away from all of this.
All right, the solution here is incredibly simple. Update your software immediately. SolarWinds has bundled all the fixes for these critical flaws into one single update, Web Help Desk version 2026.1. Seriously, if you're using this software, this is your cue to pause this, go and apply that patch right now. It is the only thing that will close that open door.
And while you're taking care of that update, it kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about, doesn't it? This whole situation really shines a spotlight on a much bigger question in security today. In a world where patches can be bypassed and new attacks pop up all the time, is it really enough to just be reactive? It forces us all to ask, are our security plans built to anticipate what's coming next, or are we always just cleaning up the last mess?